Hi everyone, it's Paul here with Newegg TV, and today we're getting back to our roots with a PC build. If you've been following Newegg TV for the past 6 months or so, you've seen us do a few builds here on the show, and they've featured some pretty high-end hardware, really fast Intel CPUs, Radeon HD graphics cards, and Crossfire. And to be perfectly honest, a lot of that stuff is a bit outside the range of your average PC builder. Today we're doing a build that's focusing on both price and performance. So we're looking for a mid-range that will give us some really good performance out of the rig, as well as not hurting your pocketbook too bad. Now, in my personal experience, there are 3 stages to building a computer. The first stage is planning, where you pretty much organize all the parts that you want. The second stage is building, where you're assembling all the hardware. And the third stage is what I'll call installation, which mainly deals with software installation after the PC is all built and up and running. Now, if you would like a more in-depth tutorial on PC building, you can try this link, which will point you towards our PC build that we did last year. If you'd like a little bit more information on software installation, if you're upgrading to Windows 7 in particular, you can check out this link, which will give you some more information on Windows 7 installation. So let's start off with a few quick tips on planning your build. Now, your base components, that being your motherboard, your processor, and your memory, you definitely are going to want to upgrade. But there are a few pieces of hardware that do have a longer lifespan, and you might be able to save them. A case is a good example of these. Cases will often outlast the hardware that's inside them. If you have a standard ATX case that's still in good condition, you can probably reuse that and put your new hardware in it. Optical drives are another good example of this. They have a very long lifespan. So if you have an older DVD burner, you can probably save that, and you can save yourself the cost of buying a new optical drive. I should mention, for DVD burners and for hard drives, you do want to check the type of connection that they have on the back. A serial ATA connector is the newer one. You'll be fine with that. If you have an older IDE connection, you want to double check your motherboard, make sure that you have an IDE port, because since that's an older technology, it is being phased out with some of the newer motherboards. Finally, you will definitely want to double check on your peripherals. Your monitor, your keyboard, and your mouse are some items that you can definitely hang on to and reuse for your new build. By saving money on these parts, you can devote more money towards your core build, and you'll end up with better performance overall. Once you've decided which hardware you want to keep from your old build, it's time to start picking out the shiny new hardware for your new build. I'll usually start out with a processor and motherboard, make sure they're compatible with each other, and then I'll choose all my other parts based on that. Remember, the motherboard is a component that ties your entire system together, so keep the specs on hand when you're looking at your other parts to make sure that anything you choose is compatible. Finally, you will always want to get a second opinion on the parts that you've picked out. Our Newegg community forums, EggXpert.com, is a great place to do this. I was able to go and run this build by my friend Mark, who gave me some fantastic feedback, so thank you very much for your help on this build, Mark. So here's a quick rundown of the parts that I've chosen for this budget build, and I will give a quick explanation why for each product. To start out is our CPU. This is an AMD Athlon II X4 630 CPU. It is a quad-core, and it is incredibly powerful for the price that you pay for it. I started off with this CPU, and I based the rest of the build around it. Next, we have our motherboard. This is an MSI 890GXM-G65. Motherboard part numbers are also always fun to say. And I chose this motherboard based on the 890GX chipset. Also, it has serial ATA Revision 3, that's 6 gigabytes per second, as well as USB 3.0. So a lot of forward compatible features with this motherboard. Next, we have our memory. DDR3 memory from Crucial. Chose this based on the timings and speed of the memory, and also it's 4 gigabytes for a very good price and compatible with our motherboard. These are the base components: CPU, motherboard, and memory. Now, I want to point out that the motherboard that we chose has built-in graphics. So the other items you see over here are actually part of our upgrade kit. You can build this entire computer without these 2 parts over here, and then later down the road you can upgrade if you want, and you can add a lot of features to your system. Next, we have our optical drive, standard DVD burner from LITE-ON. Our hard drive is a Seagate Barracuda. This is a 1 terabyte drive, and it's amazing how much storage you can get for the price these days. Based on the system specifications, we went with 1 extra serial ATA cable, just to make sure that we can connect all our components. Next is our power supply. We have an Antec Basic 550 watt, and the price to performance for this power supply is fantastic. I always recommend getting a higher end tier 1 power supply because lower end power supplies can be notoriously unreliable. For the price you pay for this one, you get a modular power supply, meaning you can plug in only the cables that you want. You also have a 12-centimeter fan, which is pretty big. Big fans are generally better because they can rotate more slowly while still moving more air, which means you will have a quieter system overall. Also, this is 80+ certified, which means you're going to have a very power efficient machine. Next is our case. We have an Antec 200. This is a budget case from Antec, but it still has a lot of really nice features. I'd like to point out the 2.5-inch hot swappable hard drive bay in the front. You can use that to plug in an SSD or maybe back up an old notebook hard drive. Also, it features 14-centimeter fans. That's even bigger than the 12-centimeter fans in our power supply. Again, larger fans move more air and rotate more slowly, which results in a much quieter system overall. Now we can put this entire system together and it would get up and running. All we would need is an operating system. But if we wanted to add to it in the future, and that's the beauty of building your own computer, you can actually purchase a couple parts that would turn this into a really full-featured gaming and multimedia PC. We have a Sapphire Radeon 5770, Radeon HD 5770, which is a very nice video card. Great performance from this card for the price. And we have a LITE-ON Blu-ray player, which is fantastic for playing Blu-ray movies. With the higher end Radeon HD 5770, you can have 1080 playback, and you can also use the video outs on the card to route a signal to your TV, and you can have this system double as a home theater PC. So with all that being said, I think it's about time to get this build underway. I'll leave the camera on so you guys can watch. So there you have it, guys. The system's all up and running. It's working great. I'm going to go ahead and pop in Windows 7, actually. And you'll notice I did not yet install our upgrade parts, but I do have all the other base components in there to get the system up and running. If we wanted to install our Blu-ray player, we would need to pop open one of the faceplates so we can install it in the 5¼ bay here. And then we'd also need to make sure we can run a serial ATA cable for data up to there, and also a power plug. Next is our Radeon HD 5770. So here's our 5770, and if we're going to install this, you'll notice it's a double width card. So we'll need to remove 2 of the back plates here, install the card in one of the PCI Express slots. Usually the top one is your fastest speed, pops in just like that. And also we need to make sure that we plug in the supplemental power connector there as well. So there's a couple examples of how you can install some quick upgrades to this base computer to turn it into a really full-featured multimedia and gaming PC. Hope you've enjoyed today's video, everyone, and we'll see you next time on Newegg TV.